I know today is the 22nd day of February, but I don't know if you were aware that yesterday was International Self-Care Givers Day. Not Self-Care Givers Day, but International Caregivers Day yesterday. So it's such a fantastic thing that we are here to talk about self-care.
My name is Justine. I am a stand-up comedian, a political commentator, and a satirist. I try to make people laugh, but also educate them. So that's what I do.
And you do it so well.
Thank you so much.
You do it so well.
Hello, my name is Njeri Megwe. I am.
And today you're blushing very.
I am a feminist, very important, a toxic one. I'm a woman human rights defender. I do women rights work, and I work at a Sikimia. Yeah.
And thank you for the work you do.
Asante.
Thank you so much for the work you do.
So which hat do I use?
All of them, whichever one you want.
My name is Rachel Mwekali. I work with a social movement called Coalition for Grassroots Human Rights Defender, Pussy Power.
Yes.
I'm also part of End Femicide KU movement. And I'm a Pan-African feminist, activist, woman human rights defender who believe in standing for human rights for all from an intersectionality perspective. I believe like our rights or the work we do has to be very intersectional. Yes, we don't live a silo life.
Yes. And because of that, tunawin vita.
Tunawin vita zote.
Zote.
Yes, we're winning all the fights. Yeah.
All the intersection.
We own all the fights.
All of them. Yeah.
Saluma must go.
It's a nice segue.
That one came from where?
Okay. My name is Mumbi Kanyogo. So I'm a feminist and also a queer liberationist.
Yes.
I organize with Trans and Queer Fund, Kenya. And I also am a writer. So I really write about solidarity and the importance of us actually building across identities, but also across struggles. But I feel like the more that we're sort of siloed, the less powerful that we are.
Yeah.
We have to be in solidarity with each other if we want to win.
Okay, I'm Kedolwa. Everybody calls me Kedi. I also organize a Trans and Queer Fund with Mindy.
Kedolwa.
I also
nice
I'm
name.
so committed to building solidarity because I know how isolation can. Yeah, let's go into that because I don't want to cry. I'm also a writer.
Imagine cry. It's okay.
I'm also a writer.
We're in a self-care space.
The queen, and I'm also a fiber artist.
It's so good to see all of you. And it's fantastic to sit here and talk about self-care. So thank you, Strictly Silk, for having us. We rarely ever do this work. We rarely ever have an opportunity to talk about it because there are so many problems and there are so many expectations and, Kenyans are not hungry enough. But there are people who are actually doing the work and we never get the time to ask, okay, you people at the front line, once you're not at the front line anymore, when you go back home, what does that part of your life look like? How do we redefine care in a way that does not make us feel guilty, in a way that there's no guilt around it, and also in a way that does not have us having conversations about, these people are so classist, they're leaving us in our struggles, and then they're going to Sijui where to talk about what, like how do we redefine care in a way that is wholesome, in a way that, we are working from rest and from care and from filled cups.
The thing is, why is self-care seen as a luxury? Whereas self-care is essential in order for us to keep the candle burning. And why is self-care defined as, going to a spa? And self-care is defined as, that day when I'm taking care of myself. Is it, what do women call it? Maintenance. I feel like we need to redefine what self-care looks like to us as Kenyan women, Kenyan feminists, to us as activists on the front line. We need to redefine what self-care looks like for us, how affordable is it to us, and how can we make it in dignity. And even when you take that act of self-care, for me, I feel like self-care also comes in as an act of resistance, like I'm fighting. So this is my form of resistance, like I can take care of myself. And I feel like we need to redefine and look at how does self-care come for me.
I think for me, I look at it from a lived reality of also decolonizing the word self-care. And I support Njeri's point. The way self-care has been looked is from a capitalistic point of view. It's from a bouginess that for you to have self-care, you have to go to Mombasa. For you to have self-care, you need to buy designer perfume or sleep for some, which I respect, or if someone is taking a break. However, for my lived reality is different. For me, I believe from the community collective care, and I've seen it work with us as Pussy Power during even the floods, where everybody's doing their parts. Like if you're supposed to cook in the kitchen, you're cooking in the kitchen. If you're supposed to go and rescue, you're rescuing another person. So it's not left to one person. So it becomes collective. Because if we don't do that, it becomes harder for injury. That's why you'll not sleep and I'll not sleep. Because the system that are supposed to hold us here, they are not holding us here to have self-care. Because even if you sleep, you'll still be stressful. You'll wake up to the stress because the systems are not working for you to have self-care. And also from a movement also perspective, I've seen it also from a class lens. If a middle class person takes self-care, it's okay. But if Mwikali says they are taking a self-care, now they use it against me. You have seen so much trauma in your life in Madare. Which self-care? You get it? Or in Njeri, you are dealing with a lot of issues. Why self-care? But these are the things that affect us later. And when they affect us later because of trauma, burnout, then people start criminalizing you also on mental health issues.
I love what Mwikali has brought about communal care, because self-care also comes with an element of selfishness, and it's also been gentrified, that it's about you just being pampered, being taken to spas, being spoiled, and it's been made to feel like this is what it is to be taken care of self.
And I also think it's been made based on exploitation.
Yes.
Because even you have to, like Mikali was saying, like we have to talk about class in it.
Yes.
Because, for example, a lot of us who like middle upper class, we're actually, the care is contingent on you exploiting someone else. Because it's something that's the elephants in the room. Domestic workers. And then you're not even paying them properly what the value of your time is. So you're saying, okay, so some people will pay 800 bob, for example, for a whole day's worth of work. Are you saying that 6 hours of your time is worth 800?
It's not.
But not, there's a way that you strategically devalue other people's work in order to guarantee your own care.
Usually, when you need help, sometimes it's from a point of financial constraint.
It is.
And I worry that when we say that obviously people who are exploitative, and then there are people who are crushed by the system and they actually need to do work, and they need that person to come in and assist.
But I think we need to understand that this system of care that's based on exploitation is a broken one. It's not what we should be aspiring to. Instead, Mwikali has talked about a model that is based on reciprocity. And at any point, even if we're saying that this is what we have to do as contingency right now, because there's no sort of collective care system, what would it look like for us to demand that together? As opposed to thinking about domestic work, for example, as the thing we should be aspiring to. I think we have to get to a point where we're demanding something that can cover us all. Because even that woman who's come to care for you, where has she left her children?
She's caring.
And also, what does self-care also take for her?
When we build a system based on exploitation, it exploits everybody, the underclass, because you're also being exploited. And so we have to demand a better system that allows us to take self-care without it hurting the other people in the underclass. This is why it always brings, this is why our struggles are intersectional. And they are collective, and they have to be demanded collectively.
Care and communal care is building a life for all of us that we're not constantly trying to run away from. Because even how care in a consumerism perspective is, we're all running away from something. You have to leave your house to go for a massage. You have to leave your house to go buy perfume. But what does it look like if all of us are not trying to run away from our lives or from our realities? Because even when you're bringing that woman into your house, she's left her reality at home. And even you're bringing her in because there's a reality that you're also running away from, because maybe you're being exploited at work, you don't have enough time to wash your dishes or even take care of your home.
Okay, mumesema self-care is exploitive, so then what would communal care look like? What would taking care of yourself without exploiting somebody else and without that other person exploiting another person look like?
Kakana would also finish a point in the mentioned, which is very key. And that's why I'm very passionate around even the rights of domestic workers.
Yes.
I analyzed it from also another research we did with some of my feminist sisters, Akina Nosim. It was most of these women, when they are going to work, for example, for another middle class sister, is because the system of patriarchy has enabled this woman not to enjoy also a rights, because maybe they have partner. Like, let's say, for example, let me look from a heterosexual perspective. You are married to someone, but this person doesn't want also to do care work. So, and also you have to thrive in your career, you have to thrive in other things. So for you, in expense of this only one man, you have to employ another woman because of economic injustice. And this other woman maybe has children who also now are forced to be raised alone, lacking this care of their parents, whether they come from also two biological parents or even just the community. So we end up in a crackdown of a system of care not working because of capitalism and patriarchy.
Yeah.
And because also like, and this also I've tried to observe it even in many spaces. When even most of these women or these men win awards, they'll never say, I thank my house manager for always showing up for me, for always cleaning, taking care of my children, because at the end of the day, there are things that are very intimate, like love. So this woman is forced to transfer a love to another person's kid's love, where our children also lacks the love. This person doesn't have, let's say, part-time money, the way if you work overtime, you are paid. And also this person doesn't have also their own sexual pleasure. Because if they are day bag or they stay, they are living in, their rights, sexual reproductive health and rights or sexual pleasure is taken away. Because they can't, you're always told, take on a Sunday and then from 7 to 10 come back. Maybe also you want to enjoy. So if you're looking for this system that is sort of broken, it needs to be looked collectively. And that's why when you ask, how does it look like? For example, I usually tell people, you know, I can have, and this one my friends, you should not kill me. For those you know yourself, you have had a fight on self-care. Yes, it's good, everybody loves me, they care, Michael, you need to sleep, you need to rest, everything. But I'm in this system that is broken. Around me, it's broken. I want to sleep, I want to rest, I want not, for example, to be in the front line. But what I usually say is, if injury, you do what you need to do, you do what you need to do, you do what you need to do, I can be able to rest.
It's true.
However, also we cannot take away the realities that also women, we need to rest.
No,
Because we do so much. We work 24 hours.
Even
and that's why I'm not a
your
believer of
brain
50-50. I'm a believer of 70-30. Men only bring in contribution 30%. But the rest 70 is left to women. Even out, that's how I see it. Men bring only maybe financial only. But for example, in Jerry, you can be a career woman. Let's say, that's what I'm saying, let me look at it from a heterosexual perspective. Whether you bring 50 finances and I bring 50, at the end of the day,
I am
you're
doing
the one who
the
needs
care.
to know people, what are they eating in the house, shopping, children, this husband, this and this. Is there any man who says, Njeri, you need to dress nicely, I need to ensure my wife clothes are ironed or my girlfriend clothes are ironed?
Never.
Or they are put together?
I come from
Self-care.
a house where that is kind of the norm. My brother is very caring about his kids and his wife. So whenever I hear people say about certain things like men don't do, I'm usually like, and not to be like not all men, but like when you come, it's like I would never say not all men, but like when you come from a place where that is possible, you're like, some of you are just lazy. Like
They are lazy.
Especially if you have the resources and you can show up. You it's actually possible.
Actually, now that you say it that way, men have been conditioned to be cared for. And women have been conditioned to be carers. So that is why self-care for us always feels like it's a luxury. Because
And
we
it's
really...
something you're taking from
someone else, because nobody gives it to you. And if we honestly loved each other, we would make and accommodate and have room for care. And have room for actually, without it being self-care, because it's always there and it's consistent and it's constant. Again, and I will put this in how I was brought up. You know, people always been like, you're a feminist because you don't have a father. No, me, I'm a feminist because I was raised only by a father. I'm a child of a single dad since I was 3 years old. And my dad has shown me men actually just prove it all the time that they don't want to do it. Because when a man raises a girl child in the 80s, you are nuko tunakimbia kuu And my dad is holding me kwa kiwanja. I told him, and he was like, how can you remember that you were so small, being held during the coup? Because he told them, I'm not leaving my child. Namwacha na nani? She doesn't have a mother. It shows you implicitly that men just don't want to care. That is why the system of having deadbeats works, because men know they can offload the labor of care to women. And
Also
you see what?
guilt the
Yes, and so that's why care, when we're looking at self-care, it has to come from so many aspects of life. It's not just self-care that I need to go and rest. I can go to a spa and be massaged, and it doesn't change the reality.
But it's not that we don't want spa. We
Oh, we want spa, please. We want massages. But after the massage, then does my reality, my lived reality change? So the thing is, men need to be more present. Patriarchy is, when you say patriarchy is a whole problem, and nobody is even looking at the system of care is broken, because patriarchy ensures that we don't get the care that is rightfully given to us. Because as Mwikali has said, when you go home, I am offloading my care to my domestic worker. Because I'm tired. Kazi imekuwa ngumu. I've come home, my legs are swollen, my boss shouted at me, life was hard. Then now what? So I offload my care of my children to my domestic worker. My domestic worker has a domestic worker. Could be even the what is it called? The daycare system that is iko kwa mitaa. Or even relatives. And so because I have offloaded my care to her, she goes
Offloaded it to somebody else.
and so
It's a vicious cycle of offloading care.
I did a piece of research on this, small, but just talking to people, it was also just about, you've given me this amount of money, but you're also expecting me to do this much of work, and there's no space for negotiation. Like, I know I don't get to say how I'm going to spend my time, given that you've done it. It's, if you would never take a job where someone gets to add different tasks after you've already signed a contract. None of us would take a job like that, where you don't get to even negotiate at the point that you're actually getting into a thing. You're just forced to keep going. So why don't we think about the fact that it's a service? This is work.
Yes.
It's not. It's work.
it's not a favor.
It's not a favor. It's work.
And they're not members of your family because you live in your home.
No, they're not. So it's about negotiation and having a conversation instead of telling someone this is how it's going to be, because also that's unfair.
Can I throw span in the works? How did we live before we came with this?
That's
why I'm coming to the point of, let's say like Amakao, there's this thing we call the Mwedhian. Mwedhia is when, like, for example, I have a farm, we need to plow or to do work. The community comes collectively, we do it together.
Right.
And for me, I can see this as self-care. Where else someone can have an alternative of paying people to do that. But for my community, or even what I've experienced where I live in Mathare, when things are done collectively, there's more you benefit than just the one.
No,
There's also like political education that you go through, advice. And that's why, like, before growing up, I used to see when women wash the dishes around 10. So I used to be using machine too much. But I realized for these women,
It is community.
and it's community care, because nasikia mama nani alichapwa jana.
Munajua.
Munajua nani alirepiwa. Like, they're able to even share information about violence. So I think also there are this common practice that have worked for us Africans. Like the one
That
when
we have left.
watu usema ati mtoko vyombo ni mshene mingi. Mimi niko like hiyo mchene imeomoka inatusaidia. But also we need to use the narrative that how help is it for our intel. How helpful is it when women just laugh and say, ooh, so you do it. But I think these things we are losing. We are losing.
You know what? You're right. We are losing
Losing recipe.
Me, what I see is that our life is very contradicting.
We have
and the work
imported
we do,
this in self-care thing.
and people need, our work is very contradicting, and our life are very contradicting. So you find even Jerry, if you used to gossip, you can't gossip because you're called a gossiper.
Sindio.
Yeah.
But this gossip will make you laugh.
Women, we are also communal. And we are losing that recipe of being communal, of coming together to sit together, and it is how you debrief each other. See, we go for therapy, right? And therapy is actually self-care, but it's individualized self-care because it tells me how I, Njeri, need to take care of me. But how do I, Njeri, take care of you, Wajiro? How do I take... Yes, here we are sharing bread and breaking bread. So the thing is, how do we go back to our original recipes where we debrief each other in gentleness, in in love and also in criticism, in positive criticism. Unakuja kwangu unaniambia, let me tell you something that I love about Mwikali. Mwikali will call me out. Tell me, Jerry, by the way, you stepped away when you should not have stepped away. Why did you do it? You know, this is part of being in a movement, and this and this and this and this, and they will call you out. But they will also tell me, I understand where you're coming from, so this is what I'm going to do for you. I'll do for you A, B, C. Where is that? And why are we stopping being rooted in love and care for each other, and that we can call each other and have a commonality of love? Njeri manze, hapa umepoteza njia. You know, you're losing it. You're going out of your way. And I think we've lost it because some of us don't take it well. We take it as rejection.
You're triggering me.
You're fighting me.
It's also like that positive criticism is so important because it makes you feel safe enough to even receive the criticism.
Okay, that's true.
Because it's someone there's someone who's a comrade.
Yeah.
Because between you and Mukali, the reason that you're able to listen to Mukali is because she's also in the movement. She's not someone who's coming to critique you. And it's safer to critique you from outside when you're not at risk of critique yourself. And I think that is kind of lost. Like, how can we build something that's stronger as opposed to looking to pick people out to sort of throw them out?
To Mumbis.
The reason I'm saying that is because, for example, for us in the movement, there was it's difficult to talk about.
No, don't talk if you want to talk because you're inside
I'll
here.
say it.
It's like going to say
This way.
I mean,
when people came for us.
Yeah, I mean, like for us, it was
They came after you. Even they came after me.
I mean, the work we do is volunteer work. And I guess people don't think volunteer work should go off the clock. So part of the pushing back and resisting that is like, we put out statements and be like, but Trans and Care Fund, we're going on a break, keep pushing back. And people will still break that boundary and email us and call us and text us.
Baby, listen. And let me tell you something that I have learned, and I think Mikali can correct me if I'm wrong. This work will kill you.
Yes.
And you
has
have
killed people
consistently. I have learned. Because guess what? Do you remember? 2 years ago, you remember? This big hump I grew here. Do you know my hormones are so messed up?
And your cortisol.
And my cortisol is over the roof. That I was in hospital, and nobody even knows this, with high blood pressure of 210. Why? Because I've been taking more than I can chew. You have to keep on pushing back, and you have to consistently take care of yourself. If you don't replenish, you will die. And I think that is a thing I have learned this year.
There's a friend of mine.
It's gonna kill me.
There's a friend of mine called Nyambura, and she usually says, if your feminist is built on giving, and you're never taking, you have to, and it's not built on receiving, then you have to think: are you building a movement, or is the movement taking from, or are you dying in the movement? Is the movement killing you? Which leads me to my next conversation point, because not everyone is an activist. Not everyone is a feminist. Not everyone. We're having this conversation and people are wondering, hey, huku ni wapi? So for the people who are not, ewe mnafanyanga hii kazi yote, Ruto must go. But they are not his GDP. About making this person go. So if we were to engage even the people who are not activists, the people who want to be allies, and not allies in just feminism, because that is would be opening another can of worms, but just people who are not really active, but they want to be involved, they want to support the work. How would we, what would the conversation around that look like?
I think for me, it's like check your friends. Because people who... I see sometimes people having conversations online, and I'm like, that's not even who you are in real life. What are you doing? So when you talk about a subject that you know, either there are people who work in the movement who actually do the heavy lifting every day, and you're online also amplifying the least contributive or the most toxic kinds of conversation, instead of educating your friends and be like, no, this is actually... So this is something that I saw, there's someone who attacked Njeri. There's people always attacking Njeri, and I'm like, what do you even do, on a daily? So what people did, was on the flip side, was Njeri has done this, this is how you can contribute, this is how you do this. That to me was course correcting. It was standing in that moment. You're not in the movement, you probably don't do a lot of activism work, but in that moment you're stopping people from being willfully ignorant, from spreading the wrong message, from spreading hate. It's let's redirect this viral moment to the right thing. Contribute, and probably show up. There's a volunteer program. This is how you help. And I think that's a contribution for people who are not necessarily activists can do. Course correct as much as
people need to be like called out even if they feel like they're being shamed.
Even shame is
shame is still effective.
Bring back shame.
Bring back shame. But we're having that conversation with Justine earlier about like really being, even receiving a call out or a course correction, and being willing to go into that space and be like, you know what, let me introspect.
There's something you were saying about criticism within the movement, without the movement, bullying.
I mean, I think criticism is okay and it's necessary. That's the only way that we grow, because when we can never be fully correct as people. And also, it's not to say that because you're part of the movement or you're out of it, that determines whether you can critique or not. But my point is, critiquing to what end? Because someone might be critiquing, but it's truly to just kill your morale.
There's an overload of information. A lot of it is even wrong. And a lot of it is just out here, and people are just waiting to make you, to watch you fall, so that they can have a lot of things to say about you. And that also goes into the conversation about care. It goes about in the conversation about care. Because it means you can't even have care. Because you're always worried.
What are they going to say if I go to a spa? What are they going to say? What if you and money? And also,
Jarida, you are saying, on looking at it in a different lens here, is you deserving good things bad? Or else we are fighting for other people to have good things? And then when you get it, why do you have to use it against you as a collective or as a movement? Because I feel sometimes, and what has helped me is being rooted in my own community, where I can tell you movement people, I'm remaining with my people. Because we need to stop living like double standards. For me, I usually say I want to be in a movement where I am fully myself. If I say things that sometimes can be problematic, or they cannot be, or sometimes we can be patriarchal, because sometimes the things we say unwillingly, things that are patriarchal or willingly, sometimes we say, and I'm like, okay, we can have a conversation, you correct me, you tell me, Mwekali, when you do this and this, I feel this and this. But when you don't do that, and then you bomb me, you become an Al-Shabaab, you bomb me, you bomb, not fire, Al-Shabaab. You bomb me, I bomb you, Mundi, and I know clearly you're doing work with Trans Fund. I'm bombing a whole constituency and many lives. And that's the thing I think movement people and the public should be able to see, that when you bomb Jerry, you're not bombing Jerry.
It's not just her. It's
you're bombing
her
a lot
and
of women who are going through GBV. You're bombing a lot of people who seek refuge in Jerry. You're bombing also women and leadership. You're bombing, let's say, queerness and everything. Like there's a lot of intersectionality around you. And that's the thing I've realized, politicians don't do that. Men don't do that. Women don't do that, but because of inequality and systematic oppression in our society, the system that has been created, what we are asking, Wanjiro, what do we need to do? Or what works is that we need to go back to where we have come from. Like when we were raised, even most of us used to eat at neighbors. As we grew up, we grew up with our
cousins, and then you were told relatives not to go to.
You used to go, like me, I used to know, like in Madare, every Christmas I don't need to cook. Because najua kuna walinda kula. And whether nimepika sijapika, I'll eat. However, even nowadays, hata mtu kukaribisha kwake kwa chakula
ngumu
ni kazi.
Mutai imechange.
Society, it's becoming a problem. Like even now when you're dealing with finance bill, even around dating, because of femicide in the country, you want to be cared by someone, but you're like, where femicide?
And you are.
You get it. You're always on this fighting mode. So I think, Wanjiro, that these things need to be looked in terms of, why do we have to keep women constantly on fight mode?
Even based on this conversation, which I feel was very important, how do we then, I'm sorry, I'm taking your moderator,
the real Jerry. The others is another one.
So I'm asking, how then do we build systems of care around us that can be able to, one, call us into accountability? Unaona, bila kujua hata ukinioffend tu ni sawa. I mean, It is what it is. But I also can take criticism in grace, knowing that it is not coming from a place of hate. It is also coming from a place of care, that this community cares for me, cares for my well-being, wants to see me be okay. Right?
Someone will be like, "Ali tutataka huku wiki mzima." Maybe you had other plans. And you can imagine, maybe you have no money. You see, these are realities we don't talk sometimes. And maybe also there are also people discriminating you based on being an activist in public spaces. So you find this care also, you're caring for others, but nobody's caring
For you.
And also the people want to care for you, they feel sometimes disappointed by you because also you're like, this thing needs, people need to understand the concept, it needs to be collective.
Is when the Reject Finance Bill protests were happening, it was like people understood what community was. And then the moment it wasn't about the finance bill, it's like everyone's brain started breaking back into their silos. And like,
What do you mean when you say it was not a finance bill?
like, okay, so after
From finance bill
to end femicide.
No, it was opposite.
It was end femicide and then we
that's what
entered
I'm
its
saying.
finance.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if end femicide did not happen,
Yes.
I don't think
That wouldn't.
yes,
It would.
because the same organizers, the people who understand how to do movement work and to mobilize people and to appeal to the sense
Yes.
of community,
Yes.
were the people who are at the core of
In
it.
short,
Reject
women.
finance. But yeah, a lot of women
But
were
also
at the forefront.
acknowledging, if it were not the work of activists even before the,
Yes.
the end femicide,
It was
collectively being on the streets, we just do an analysis
yes.
and educating.
They don't look at it that way.
Yes,
Revolution was before that.
And their revolution was a lot. And Hungary, I remember Hungary revolution.
There were many things
Okay,
before that.
let me just
She was
connect
saying-
the things. No, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay that you added.
We are activists.
No, it's okay that you added because like you have to tie them together. So I started at the finance bill protest because that's the only time where even the people who usually don't care about what's going on were like, oh, it's important to like send water. It's important to like fund the person who's providing food, or like the medical doctors need a van to like drive around. The nurses need this, and people were coming together because that in their minds that was like an isolated incident that needed people to show up for each other, forgetting that this happens even when it's invisible to them. So that when the idea of community started breaking, when the end femicide protest happened again, I was like, why are you angry? This is actually what community does. You show up for each other every single time, even if the struggle you think you're seeing doesn't affect you, because the moment you disappear and you think, oh, these donors are not here anymore, they don't need to perform.
And Kwanzaa, right now they are
Those
not
people,
here.
yeah,
they're
those
not
people are in, like, you are in your community doing work. Mwikali is in, like, okay, like every single person is out there and they're doing work that you're not aware of. So just because you think every single person is doing this for donors, for funding, like you have to think how difficult it is for that person to do that consistently.
I loved what you've said.
Yeah.
You have to think.
Yes, you have to. You have to think.
I think comrades and friends, we have to be very careful. So we can't avoid talking money issues.
Yes.
I think even the way we have been socialized as feminists, as activists, discussion around money is left to men and patriarchs. It's not bad. Everybody wants to be resourced and oppressors. And I feel also we need to be very clear for those who are watching the podcast that any feminist work, any revolutionary work also needs to be supported by the public.
Yes.
And each one of us, doesn't have to be money. It can be time, like the way you said.
Time, skills, and resources.
Ending femicide influencers online.
Yes.
Some journalists also giving out their space. Creatives, people just sharing, helping in mobilizing. So resources doesn't have to be money. However, also, we need to look even the thing about, you said another funding, like even Wellspring and the rest closing down. What does it mean for all of us? Because we're seeing a lot of people have lost their livelihood. That's for sure. A lot of our friends, brothers, family members who use ARVs is going to put their life at risk. So we don't want to lose anybody.
Even us, our lives are
Even
at risk
our
now.
lives are at risk because also there's shortage of condoms for those of us who are sexually active. And then also the realities around that being resource is not bad, because when you're a resource, also you are subsidizing the government which has failed to do the work.
Yes.
So that's why I usually tell my fellow Kenyans,
Tell
that
them.
my fellow Kenyans.
And I stand by you.
And the friends of Kenya, that there are many things, even when you do movement, that we need to acknowledge. Movements don't end. When you create a purpose that needs to be done and it ends at that time it's achieved, there's usually another purpose.
Yes.
And when it gets to another purpose, how do we sustain that momentum? And that's why I usually say when you talk about even conflict in the movement, look at it from a positive perspective. Not all of us understand movement building. Most of us understand maybe programmatic or there are people in the community who are like, sisi whether kuna dona, hakuna dona, kaende kae.
Kazi lazima ifanyike.
Like me, the way I'm raised, I'm not used, even if we say in town because of safety of other people notification. Me, I'm used, hakuna maji, tufungeni Juja Road. Maji tarudi. I don't need to take a notification to my police for this and this.
We do
That's why even us who speak jargons in the space, we need to stop speaking jargons and organize based on our lived realities and what we are facing.
I can offer to do a breakdown of like what movement building is. Please do. Because I think people have a delusion of like, oh, you're just getting money because you sent a tweet.
That is my love, but also we can't deny movements needs to be funded.
Yes.
From finance bill, femicide. Look, a lot of NGOs did not respond. It's movement. Nobody wrote a concept to someone. It's public people who gave money, public people who were able to resource, public people who ensured everybody is safe.
Yes.
Not NGO.
Yes.
Yes, not NGOs. Because also that's why we need to remove this narrative. When you give movement people money, they'll fight. They'll not organize themselves. When you give Usikini,
people have been organizing.
You don't put a structure for a woman to be killed. No. You don't put a structure for people to be murdered, to be abducted, to be disappeared. You don't put a structure for people to be treated with homophobicness from GTIP era. So for me, I'm expecting even Kenyans, people like Kaluma, is it Muhammad Ali, who are very homophobic, organizing march against people being targeted, like LGBTQ people. The public should hold them accountable.
They should be held accountable.
Because you can be a duty bearer, and some of them also are CS, and they are suspect of femicide perpetrators.
I was looking, Juzi, at the amount of calls that we received. And I was asking our call people, what do you mean we got a call from Australia? What do you mean we got a call from Sweden? No, their person in Kenya is going through something. Or we did a rescue in Nigeria, believe it or not. Us here, Usikimie, an organization that is rooted...
The Nigeria where
the organization that is rooted in Uko kwa Geto, Soweto, is helping a woman who was locked in, a Kenyan woman married to a Nigerian man, that she had been locked in a house and did not have another place to call. She called the embassy, nothing. She called, WhatsApped people, nothing. She finally WhatsApped us, and she had been locked in that house for 4 days without food. She didn't know where her children had been taken. She's just somewhere in the Bundus, and I had to call a Nigerian feminist, and I was like, here, and helped us rescue this woman. What if we build systems of interconnectedness, care, that when I have a case in Mathare, I will tell Mwekali, by the way, hapa Mathare place na hii, please help me there. You see, that is what we need to build. We build a system that makes sure that care is essentially meeting every woman.
When most of us HRD, you have to be protected, or when you have to be moved. Let's say you have children, you have family or spouses. That's when you understand the collective care, it's important. Because there's no way, if you're told you're being removed alone and leaving your children, or even moving your partner. And that's why even most of us who are within the activist space, we are pushing for that collective protection. Because it's hard. Guess you're being removed, and then how will you come back to that society and to that household? Your children will say you left us. Your family will say you left us, you went alone.
You valued the work.
Yes. And some of us have gone through that. Where you live, people have told, and also when you refuse to live, they're like, you don't care about your life. You want everybody, and it's impossible. So I think for me, it's also like having this conversation of what works for you. Let's use that. And people being given the agency of deciding what works for you and what works for all of us. Like a good example, when we had this letter and you are against the people and the organization that were funded by Ford, when the government of Kenya said we were funding anarchy.
The protest,
It was hard, and Njeri,
it was.
And many other organizations that were in the list. But what saved us, like for us as GHD people, it's collective. Community care and protection. Maybe there's a story with Njeri and me for another time. We shouldn't show up based on class.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the shoe is pinching everyone.
Yeah.
If you are aware of a shoe that is pinching,
If you divide it, it depicts one by one.
Remind you,
Yeah.
Kasongo's government has reminded us the shoe will
the shoe is pinching
then
everyone.
also, like,
So if you're
class
going to delegate courage, then contribute to the care at the very least.
You see, the reason we
At
have
the
class
very least.
is because they are beneficiaries of the
Of the shoe pinching.
of the shoe pinching.
Yeah.
So they don't care about who the shoe pinches to. That's why there's class consciousness.
Yeah.
So for us, we have to be, let me tell you, poverty is hard.
Indignified.
It's indignified. There's no dignity in poverty. But one thing that I have learned being in communities that are poor, because we are poor, is that we can organize amongst ourselves and get things done.
In this country, it is easier for you to be poor than to actually be wealthy.
everybody is closer to poverty.
We are all closer to poverty.
We are one
than-
paycheck away from
once
poverty.
we understand that, we are not going to delegate courage and activism and being on the front line. It's you understand, if this
To
thing
speak
doesn't
up
work for
again
me,
and again.
if education does not work for me, if healthcare, which is right now not working for me, we are all screwed. It doesn't matter. And people who are following who and who, we are all screwed.
We are, but I also want to say that we all have different responsibilities.
Yes.
If you have more like economic privilege,
Yes.
like me, for example, you
Yeah,
know, like I have a job that
Yes.
pays me per month, whatever.
Yeah.
I cannot just say it's because I'm living paycheck to paycheck that I, like I have to also contribute to the struggle that we're saying.
Yes.
We're talking about this issue of sustainability. The
Yes.
only reason Trans and Queer Fund has been able to survive this long
because
is
people
people
have been
contribute
contributing.
every single month. We have never
Yes.
gotten funding. In fact, it's just the other
Yeah, we
day.
discussed
For the
our
first time in
for the
5
first
years,
time.
the only reason we've been able to survive is because people who have particular economic privilege
Yes.
say I'm going to give 5K every month, and that's what
And that's
and that's
good.
the only way we're
And
going
we
to
thank those
survive this
people.
funding
Continue
issue.
giving money.
Exactly, continue doing
But the
that.
other side of that is that we do a lot of physical education around mutual aid, and it's not
Okay.
even a foreign concept in Kenya because
Yeah.
our mothers had
Chamas. Supported
chamas.
Yes.
Also, our government,
Our mothers had chamas.
and we are built on Harambe.
Harambe was a big
Harambe,
thing.
exactly.
It's not even foreign. People just need to be reminded where we come from.
Yeah.
And also the work of archiving. Like when we were talking about my dress, my choice.
Yes.
I remember even now when people dress how they want and you try to shame
And you're
them,
in
they're
town.
like, my dress, my
dress,
choice.
my- even kids.
Yeah,
I
even
remember
children,
my
even
my
the
friends
Like,
African.
yeah, we fought for that, all of us.
The
Yeah.
other day, my dress, my
My
shirt. I was
choice.
like, okay, this is.
But you can see also like the other thing maybe I'd encourage all of us, Jerry and the team. Let's look also the work we have done, all of us, and it has been successful.
Yeah, instead of looking
From a
at all
positive
the-
lens, not all the
There are good things that
time.
have happened.
A lot.
Yeah, sometimes
We've done a lot. Thank you.
What are
Thank
these
you.
one things that you are proud you have done?
For Trans and Queer Fund, I think I can say I'm so proud that we've sustained the work for 5 years without external funding. And as I was saying, the other
So
side,
you to get funded.
yeah, I mean, we've gotten funding for the first time, but
Yeah.
the other side is that we've been building like a political consciousness movement where people are understanding that we need to take care of each other. Nobody's coming to save us. And we've gotten to a point where we have non-queer allies who are also like
That's
sending
amazing.
money.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, it was just like, you guys are gonna last 2 weeks, it's okay. You guys are gonna last a month, it's okay.
Yeah.
I can't even believe it's been 5 years of communal funding and getting money from primarily Kenyans here, even before they started getting money from outside. That alone keeps me doing the work, and it keeps me like grounded and committed to the work, even when a lot of things have happened. But even when all those things are like, okay, wait, who am I doing this for?
Yeah.
It's for myself and for the people around me to make sure that we're safe, we're provided for, we're cared for. I mean, it's hard, but the love keeps me here.
Amazing.
I think for me, it would have to be also like non-monetary aid, and the way it's helped people, like being able to place people. I mean, people's generosity, people realizing that it's not just in terms of money that I'm giving. It's like I have a free space in my house. Someone can stay here. And it's not just the house that you're giving. You're also getting the opportunity to feel loved and cared for and have a family that you wouldn't have had otherwise. So I think it's just seeing people exercise their sort of consciousness in an everyday way. It doesn't have to be something big. It can literally just be doing what you can where you are and taking that space. So for me, that encourages me, the fact that there are people who are seeing that it's not just the job of a few people and they're using the actual resources that they have to resource other people.
Oh, nice. So on my end, one of the things that I'm really proud is having a support system, because also the work I do is very intense. I can be also problematic. I can be also troublemaker. I can be also kind, nice, because of the nature of the work. And for people not giving up on me, investing on me as an individual and also as a movement, for me, I'll say that's a biggest success for me to be able to sustain. And then the other one around even and femicide. I remember getting the word femicide before. It was an award I got in 2016 in Stockholm. No, in Sweden, Gotland, Visby. And the award was attached back through Badha Kasiras. She was a woman human rights defender, was murdered in Honduras. And she did environmentalist work. At the same time, also got interested on now why were women killed even in South Africa, and then also the killing of Marielle Franco in Brazil. And I was like, this thing is happening in Kenya, why not also bring it in Kenya? And I remember having discussion like that in Ruth Mumbi, people were like, they'll not allow, but seeing it today is no longer like a few grassroots women to now a national issue. I'm like, we have done work, all of us, and we should be proud of ourselves. We should. When we are being shamed, we are being... sometimes I cry and I'm like,
for reminding me.
Tears of joy. Jerry, look like where all of us have come, even to make it a national debate, a national conversation, and a global conversation.
So I used to do a lot of political education, and what makes me happy is that like every time we would do county government budget meetings, and we would be very few. But now you walk in, and I cannot claim that to be my, because we were many, and it was done,
But also if you did it, don't feel ashamed to say,
we did, especially in Kiambu. I know Akina Aizo and that crew, the Kiambu Empowerment, like nowadays you get into the county government, the budget process meetings, the public participation, and the halls are full, and people are asking questions, people are reading these documents, people are actually, and that is, I think, a really fantastic thing. I also like to support my friends in the struggle. I will call Jerry.
Yes, you call.
I will call. I'll be like, listen, are you okay? Are you fine? Are you okay?
You do.
And I'm I feel very good when they can tell me, okay, today I'm not okay. Then we can joke, we can laugh. I'm also a funny person. I use that just to lift people up. And so I'm very proud of you. I'm proud of what you're doing, and I will always, support. I am a homeowner now, so please come to my house when you need to.
Yay!
Come, I will cook for you. And I think I've done that. I do that, and so.
And you send us money.
I also send money.
Send me money.
I know I do. So as someone who supports and someone who does political education, I'm happy about the progress that has been made. People are having conversations not just about the finance bill nationally, but also at the county government level, which was also very critical and felt like it was not, but now it's actually very critical, and that is something I'm very happy about. And I'm very shout out to every grassroots community conveners who do county budget work, because that is really fantastic job you do. So,
and also to you, because also when you send the money, one of the things people don't realize, and all of you can correct me, when you are like, this is for you,
yes,
yourself lunch.
Yes. Wanjiro doesn't send money.
No, I'm very specific. I just
send it. And my friends also, they're like,
really ice cream.
Me and my sister.
Ice cream.
And
ice cream money. This is a slice of cake money.
Yeah.
This is
birthday money.
This is birthday money. Yeah. Also, I'm calling you because I know you're not okay, so I'm sorry. So yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
I think that's important.
I'm proud of you. Yeah.
Hey. Yeah.
At least you're smiling. Cheers, no money.
I am proud that something that started as it started just to, Usikime started because of femicide. Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Because the death of Ivy Wangeshi shook me.
Yes.
And till date, I have never seen madness, because that for me was madness of people turning their profile pictures into access. Till today, I sit back and I think about Mama Ivy coming on national TV to beg people to see her child as a child. And
as a human being, yeah.
I was shaken. As somebody who had gone through intimate partner violence, I was like horrified because I thought to myself, don't people see women as people? You can't see somebody has died and you are horrified enough to be like, and the whole Malaya thing, I used to join movements. I was working, I was not part of, but I would be like, I would see Akina Wenge, Akina Mwikali, and I would join. Twende tukamach, Toto shut down Kenya, twende tukamachie Caroline Mother when she was killed, and things like that. I never thought I would sit at a table like this and say to myself, we have mainstreamed conversations. We have changed the system when it comes to gender-based violence and femicide. We have changed the conversation. People are acutely aware, whether it is men, whether it is women, whether it is children. Because 5 years in, 6 years in,
6 years.
over 1,500 children fed, meals,
and
over
pads distributed.
2 million cups of uji. I'm so thank you for reminding me that we need to celebrate. After this,
What is life?
Asanteni. Thank you.
I don't know if you guys have noticed, I'm not very good at interjecting.
Oh, we noticed.
It's because of how I was raised. I didn't speak up a lot as a kid, which is ironic considering the work that I do every
You talk a lot.
So I don't know how to follow it.
You say who you are,
I'm going to say
what you do, because you are awesome, and I keep reminding you that every day.
Yeah.
Take your time, babe.
I'm going to say I used to have a job. I used to work in interior design, and I had this delusion where
You interior designers.
I was I can do any. Yeah. It's like I can.
No, but in another life.
Okay, you can form a new company.
Commercial. Tena commercially successful.
So I thought I could just do that and never have to think about how complex the world is. And the time I was getting that job, I think that's the time Trevor Noah had been on the Daily Show.
Yeah.
So I used to watch it religiously.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to do work like this. And when I was following Trevor Noah, I found another channel called Last Week Tonight by John Oliver.
Okay.
And John Oliver does a lot of deep dives.
Yeah.
It's about people's stories and how complex issues affect even the smallest person. So to me, I call that the pedestrian theory. If it doesn't work for the person with the big car on the expressway, it doesn't work for the person who is walking on a sidewalk that is not a sidewalk, that's just a small path with a drainage. So if it's not working for the big guy, it's not working for the small guy at all.
Yeah.
So when I started watching John Oliver, I was like, maybe I can do this. So I started doing stand-up comedy 6-7 years ago. And when I started out, it was my job was horrible and I needed a place to take my energy.
Have a steep
Yeah. Yeah. So I built my stand-up comedy career out of sheer luck, because the time I started was also the time the scene that I work in was starting out, and I've been very lucky that the people I have worked with are very gracious, they're very kind, they're very supportive of orphans. Shout out to orphans. I am one. So it was I felt very welcome, very taken care of. And I had to work really hard because, again, you're a woman in comedy. It's a whole thing. So me being able to do that, and I started fake work around four years ago. So yeah, it was just
so
it was 2 or 5 of my friends used to watch it, and there's keep going, which was ridiculous considering I had no structure. And then I'm trying to remember the time when it picked up, because I wasn't very confident with TikTok, but my friend was like, you just do it. What's the worst that could happen? So it picked up on TikTok, and my friend was like, share this on Instagram. So I started sharing on both platforms the same kind of videos. And then I went to YouTube, and then I started posting on Twitter. And everyone has been so supportive, because the work that I do, I don't have a team. I do most of the research by myself, and if I can't get the research, I ask people who work in the fields to send me information, and then I try and just break it down and make it very, very easy to consume. Yes, so during, I think, the finance bill protest is when I got the biggest wave of people watching my work. and I think I helped contribute to like raising
You did.
awareness
No,
on
you did. You
yeah,
did.
yes, yeah. So everyone who's been able to contribute to the channel has encouraged me to continue doing my work, and I can say I have, from all the comedy that I do, because I also try to make people laugh even if everything is really hard. So I've been able to not just perform comedy in the country. I've been able to like travel with my comedy. Yeah, and yes, and the feedback has been really nice. And the feedback has been really good and encouraging. So the thing I'm trying to do more of is use my platform to just amplify the work that Njeri does, that Mwikali does, that Wanjiru does, that Mumbi does, that like I want to do every single person, KD's work, every single person whose work is already there and beautiful. I want to make it, I want to show it to as many people as possible. And sometimes I struggle to find the perspective that will get people together, because that's also what I try to figure out, not just like outrage and, like you don't just feed the outrage machine, you can also feed the movement building machine, like the things that are positive, the courage, yeah. So I've been able to do that so far, and I hope I can do that some more for as long as I can.
Stop delegating courage. It's harmful. It's making people, it's harmful. Just stop it. We need a better country, and a better country is for all of us to build. Thank you very much. Thank you to Strictly Silk for having us. And I'm proud of all of you. Yay! Now we need to have champagne.
Champagne.